It seems like a PIVX Seesaw reward mechanism makes users less attractive to become masternodes or PIVX compared to becoming a masternode to the other projects like Dash or whatever. In terms of profitability, just terms of profitability. But I personally think the Seesaw reward mechanism is a great model for maintaining a liquidity. However, I'm curious of the PIVX's pursuit of preventing centralization. In Seesaw Rewards mechanism, without considering the cost for the masternodes, the equilibrium is to be at 41.5%, providing block rewards around 2.25 PIV. I think it will be higher from next month. Am I correct? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So, I didn't want to cut you off. Yeah.
From next month, equally to both masternodes and staking nodes. Why was the equilibrium set to the 41.5%? How is this going to, as a PIVX stated, prevent centralization?
Yeah, so there'll be two components of this. Why that decision was made, and then we are actually moving away from the Seesaw algorithm. So I'll get to that in a point. So yeah, initially there was when they were designing the block reward of how the block reward is going to get split, right? So you had masternodes, and there's an incentivization in terms of the reward to running a masternode, and then stakers, right? So the validators, a incentivization to actually stake your coins in the wallet and thus be able to participate in earning the block reward. So the thought process was this, right? Making this Seesaw algorithm combined with our emission rate, right? So that's the other thing too, a very, very modest, decent inflation, 4% inflation rate, 4.5 PIV every 60 seconds. It's about a 4% inflation rate of our current supply. So that Seesaw would thus provide the network balance between this, right? If you have too many people, let's do this, masternodes on this side. If you have too many people running masternodes, you don't have the stabilization security of the validators, which are your proof of stakers, right? And so if you all of a sudden have a bunch of people that are running masternodes, and let's say the reward's really high to run a masternode, so more people are going to try and run a masternode, you then are potentially opening up your entire ecosystem for more vulnerabilities because you have less stakers, you have less validators in the network. Plus, now you've got a centralization, right? A large percentage of your coins in masternodes. So less liquidity, right? Less supply in the markets, and now a centralization into chunks or people that have a lot of the coin supply. So by putting it on a Seesaw where if all of a sudden all these masternodes started cropping up, what it would do is say, okay, we're going to reward stakers higher. So people are going to go, yeah, I want to stake more because now my incentivization is going up to stake. Vice versa, if all of a sudden you have all these stakers going up and you don't have enough masternodes to do, the instant sends, to do the other network protocol functions that masternodes do, well, then we should incentivize them. So it was a mathematical way to try and provide an equilibrium between those two camps, which, and then you could say it would potentially help with lessening the centralization that you see in some of the other projects, because then you'd have people that want to stake more, thus coin distribution and supply versus masternodes. Now, what's happening with this is when zPiv staking goes live, the Seesaw algorithm's actually being removed, okay? For this reason, the way that zero coin denominations work is that there's specific denominations, right? There's a 1 zPiv, a 5, just like you have, a 1 cent or a 5 cent denomination or whatever, in your currency that would be. For this reason, that provides the privacy element, right? Because if I send a transaction to you in 3.17364 zPiv, that's very specific, right? Versus if I just send a 1 and there's 100,000 other 1 zPiv sends, much more private, right? From just somebody looking at the blockchain trying to trace transactions back and forth. So with that comes this issue of removing that Seesaw, and part of the point is to drive more people to stake zPiv, right? So this is the other first for the network is zPiv staking, and if I'm jumping too far ahead, but I think it answers the question of that'll be removed where the block reward now still will be split between masternodes and stakers. However, if you stake your zPiv, you have the potential to earn 3 PIV, all right, or 3 zPiv. So if you are actually the validator staking zPiv, you will get 3. If you're staking PIV, the public PIVX, you'll get 2. And then masternodes will get 2 as well. So every 60 seconds, the block reward will always be 2 for a masternode. However, it could be 2 if you're just staking PIV, or 3 if you're staking zPiv, right? So the point of that is, again, there's going to be probably a lot of people that want to stake zPiv. Why? Much higher reward and privacy. So it's sort of a way to say, hey, PIVX network, everybody can participate in earning the block reward, right? So if you're a masternode holder, great, you can earn 2. And there'll be more incentivization to be a masternode holder, which I can speak to in a little bit. The other side, if you're a staker, great, you can still earn the block reward, you can get 2 PIV. However, if you're staking, let's incentivize you to stake and to move into zPiv, because that's going to boost the privacy layers for PIVX.
Kind of draw back a little bit, but what's the reason why you're removing the Seesaw model? Is it because it's not working, or is it because the new implementation is just coming?
Yeah, no, it's working. The Seesaw algorithm has worked brilliantly, right, in providing sort of that balance between people that are staking and masternode holders. The reason it's being removed is in order to have private staking. Let me back into this. There's a couple reasons. One is to helpfully incentivize the staking of zPiv, right? Because if more people move their PIV into zPiv, the pool of those privacy coins gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And so thus, PIVX as a currency has an ever-increasing supply of privacy coins. There'll still be the public option, right? You can still stake PIV, you can send PIV. However, that pool of privacy coins is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and thus you as individuals should be rewarded for it. It also does come down to being able to stake whole denominations, right? So like right now, if you're staking PIV, you might get 2.23 or 2.7 or whatever, because it's on a variation, right? Every block reward is being recalculated based on that ratio, so it's never a whole denomination. So in order to ensure the privacy of the people staking, it has to be a whole denomination, and doing that, you're not going to have that in the Seesaw algorithm, because in that Seesaw, again, it's being recomputed every single block. So this is being split to say, if you're staking zPiv, it'll be 3. If you're staking PIV, it'll be 2. And if you're a masternode holder, it'll be 2. And what we see kind of right now is the network's in a beautiful state of equilibrium, right? Like it is like the divide between people who run masternodes and people staking. There's a nice equilibrium between the two camps. You could say, well, what happens now? Everybody might start staking zPiv, right? They might move out of masternodes because they're going to be getting 50% more for staking. Yeah, that could happen. However, the flip is this. The zDex, which that's probably going to be a question coming up, maybe not. The zDex, right? Yeah. So I'll lead into it, right? zDex, right? The decentralized exchange that's coming into the PIVX wallet. If you are running a masternode, the zDex masternode, right? So that's the protocol layer that's going to be running this whole entire decentralized network. You will actually earn the transaction fees in that network, right? So if you're a masternode holder, you'll be getting you'll be able to participate in getting the 2 PIV block reward. Plus, when the zDex gets implemented, taking part in those transaction fees of that network. So thus, if you have enough for masternode, great, you're going to get block reward and you'll get those fees. However, you can also then stake and get the fees as well, and actually increase the privacy of the network.